On today's show, Draymond Green suspended indefinitely. Did he deserve it? How long is he going to be out? And then Giannis Antetokounmpo, 64 points. But did he get the game ball afterwards? He was furious. We'll talk about that. And the Suns' big three. They made their debut. Talk about that and more in today's Locked On NBA. Let's go.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome. You are locked on to the NBA. My name is Nick Angstadt, host of the Locked On Mavericks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show. Make Locked On NBA your first listen today. Well, the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, leave a 5-star review, like the video, and comment anything below. Comment below. If you took the Giannis game ball and hit it, would you give it back to him? Let me know. I'm curious. Are there any deceitful, trickery, nasty individuals in our comment section right now? Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. And joining me, as always, on a Wednesday, Thursday, what you got for me, Pat the Designer?
If you're guarding Draymond, you got to keep your head on a swivel, baby. That's all I know.
No, you get duck. It's not the swivel side to side. It's the up and down you got to worry about.
Yeah, but listen, if you're looking the wrong way, got to keep it swivel up and down. 360
oh my gosh.
Vision. Full chameleon, baby. Full chameleon. Just watch both sides at once.
We'll get into Giannis's game. Giannis had 64 points, a Bucks record. I almost said a Bulls record. Sorry, that would have really that would have put you into.
Nah, Jordan's got to have a 64 in there. He's got a 60. He's got more than a 64, actually. Yeah.
Got to. Jordan is one of the 5 players ever to have a 60-point game without hitting any threes, which Giannis also did tonight.
Oh yeah.
We'll talk about the Suns' big three. They made their debut, like just under the radar, like one of the bottom things that feel like everybody's talking about tonight. But that happens. We'll talk about them. They lost to the Nets. We also got counted up, where we will talk about the Pistons a little. Another
Still
loss with the
wrong.
Pistons. Weird stuff happening with the Pistons in this game. So we'll have some fun with that. But I want to start here, Pat. The news came down. Draymond Green suspended indefinitely.
Yeah.
Indefinitely. He has to meet certain criteria before returning to play. We've seen this before with Kyrie. We've seen this with Ja Morant. So this is a thing that the NBA has been doing with instances. All 3 of these instances are extremely different. It's really hard to compare them at all.
Yeah.
But according to Adrian Wojnarowski, Draymond Green, Warriors GM Mike Dunleavy, and Rich Paul of Clutch Sports, which is Draymond's agent, are expected to meet Thursday to start discussing a path of counseling and help for Green to move forward. I cannot imagine how that meeting will go in whatever way. Draymond will be there with a microphone. I'm recording this. You got this is the podcast right now.
It's a great pod. Come on now.
This is what the people want to hear. Quote from Woj: "The league didn't want to put a specific number on the suspension, but allow Green to take the time he might need to deal with challenges he's facing. Does he deserve this indefinite suspension? Should it have been a number of games?" Let's start there.
Yes, he deserves it because, to me, right, how do you put a limit on this? It's not that there's a minimum amount of games. I think that it's tough to right now give a maximum on this, right? Because this is not something that is new to Draymond. This is not something that we haven't talked about before. There are certain instances where I'm more willing to defend Draymond than others, but what we saw last night with Nurkic is that's indefensible, right? It's not that there's nobody who's ever played basketball that looks at that and says that's a basketball move.
You know how I know it was completely indefensible? Today I had a phone call conversation with Cyrus Satzes, Locked On Warriors host. And if you've ever listened to Locked On Warriors, Cyrus loves his Warriors.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You know he goes against the grain on a lot of things. I'll say that. And he was like, yeah, it's just completely indefensible. And I was like, if I'm not getting any pushback from Cyrus, who is pushing back on this? There's nobody. There's nobody out there that's going to be like, except for Draymond himself, apparently, that's going to say, oh no, he shouldn't get suspended. It was an accident. It was a mistake or whatever. We've seen this continuing and on and on. It's because he's become a cliche because it's been true, right? That he kicked people in the Draymond.
Yep. Go ahead.
He has pushed people. He has hit his own teammate. He has done all that, which apparently he's still going to be able to practice. So he can hit his own teammates, but he can't hit other people's teammates.
And you know what? This is the reason that I'm not losing my mind like many people are over Draymond is because this is what the NBA created. This is the monster that the NBA allowed to exist. Not saying Draymond is the monster, but the actions that he implements. One, you took away all the guys that would check Draymond out of the league. You literally created a league that pushed the enforcers out. So guess what? Back in the early 2000s, early 2010s, when you had a guy that would go out there and have these actions, there was usually a Rasheed Wallace or a Ben Wallace or a name whichever enforcer you like from the early 2000s who would say, listen, you're not going to do that. When DeMarcus Cousins was doing very similar things to a lot of what Draymond is doing now, not as dirty, but more so just like extracurricular things, right? When he went down to Memphis and did that, Zebo looked him in the face and said, down here we bully bullies. And you saw DeMarcus Cousins kind of chill out versus that. When you take that away, you allow this to run rampant in your league. On top of that, the most he's ever been suspended for anything is what? The previous one to this? Like we haven't seen
he was
him
out. He was out for a while when he punched Poole. That was
he punched Poole, right? But
team suspension.
That's a team suspension. The Warriors kind of brought that down. The NBA just was like, sure, yeah, y'all handled it. But outside of that, right? Like we haven't seen the NBA step in and take matters into their own hands and say, you know what?
Well,
this isn't acceptable. You're not going to play for 15 games. You're not going to play for 25 games. Meanwhile, with Ja Morant, which agreeably so, when you don't learn your lessons, you're supposed to get punished. We've seen that be levied, right? With Kyrie Irving, we've seen these things be levied.
Draymond did just sit out 5 games, so it's not like they've done nothing for this completely.
Yeah, but 5 games is what? Okay, I sat 5 games.
It's like a week and a half. It's like 2 weeks.
I sat a week and a half of basketball. Okay, my bad. I didn't. Yeah, I mean, like you're not.
Mark Stein reported he's missing $150,000 every game, so that's not nothing.
I mean, I think here's the thing, though, right? You're now suspending him indefinitely based on the history.
For sure.
What was the previous suspension based on? Because there was still the same history that you're talking about indefinitely for now. You gave him 5 games for that. We're talking about what was Draymond at? What year is he in? I don't even know when Draymond was drafted.
I don't know.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, this has been years of this. This is nothing new. And yes, there's some that I believe are defensible. There's some that are absolutely indefensible. But what we've seen this season from Draymond has been 2 situations that to me are completely indefensible. And you gave him 5 games the first time based on the history. Now he's suspended indefinitely. You got it. This feels like we're becoming the NFL with the wide range of suspensions that just don't make sense based on the individual player.
Oh, becoming. We're there. You got Josh Giddey still playing right now. You got Miles Bridges playing. You got others. I mean, you got stuff all over this league.
Yeah. This is facts.
If you look back at the indefinite suspensions the league has handed out recently, like these are the ones I could find. Tell me in the comment section if there's more. Ja Morant, March of 2023, that was earlier this year. It ended up being 9 games that he sat out for. Kyrie, beginning of the 2022 season in November, he was suspended indefinitely for tweeting the documentary that contained anti-Semitic hate, and he ended up with 8 games. So 9 games, 8 games. Malik Monk in 2020 was suspended for violating the league's anti-drug program. He was suspended indefinitely. It ended up being 8 games. However, the league ended in 2020. So we don't know how long that one would have been. In April 2014, so we're going back a ways, someone was suspended indefinitely, and that was Donald Sterling.
It's good to know there's still somebody worse. Yeah, I mean, because it felt like Draymond was heading towards like the worst guy to get the indefinite suspension. It's good to know there's somebody worse. He's still suspended, by the way.
Speaking of worse, in 2010, the NBA suspended Gilbert Arenas indefinitely for bringing weapons into the team's locker room, and that ended up being 8 games. So it's 8 or 9 games has been all of these basically, except for Donald Sterling, which is different. So if you're gonna work through it, it's definitely going to be more than 5, right? Because they're going to end up putting a minimum on it.
I don't know how you can say we take the history into account and you're talking about 8 games.
Also,
there's too much.
Also, we love BetterHelp. We love therapy. Like we're very. How much is it? How much is he going to change in 2 weeks?
Well, and you know what? That's the part that to me is a joke that the NBA is doing now, right? Like you're forcing him to talk to somebody, which is fine. Go get the help if you need the help. But you're talking about getting him the help. We did the same thing with Ja Morant. Ja Morant came back, seemingly
same thing,
does the same things again, even though very different circumstances. It ends up being a lighter, same genre of things, right? An NBA young boy, pistol-shaped things, and alcohol for Ja Morant should not go together, and keep them away from NBA or Instagram Live. Not NBA Live. That's not a thing anymore.
We're keeping everybody away from NBA Live.
Yeah, NBA Live is dead.
Keep it away from all right, coming up, let's get into the Giannis game. 64 points, a Bucks record. But what happened at the end of the game? What was a fracas? What is a fracas? Because Rick Carlisle, fracas? That's what Rick Carlisle called it after the game. We'll talk about that. Was Giannis in the right? Were the Pacers in the wrong? We'll talk about all that and more coming up. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel Sportsbook has all kinds of props, odds, spreads, and all that kind of stuff you can put some money down on. Go check it out. See what's available. I'm looking at Mavs versus Timberwolves. That game is playing on Thursday. The Mavs are a 1-point favorite at home. That surprises me. I don't know that sits well with me. You can put money down on the money line. If you put $5 down, let's say you put it on the Timberwolves. If you're a little suspicious like myself, I host Locked On Mavericks.
That's a little interesting.
You put $5 down on the plus 100 money line for the Timberwolves, and they win. You get $150 in bonus bets. So go check that out. See what else they have. Tons of other lines. Your Bulls +6 against the Heat. So the Heat are a 6-point favorite in that game. You can check that out and see any other kind of stuff like that. They have NFL. Maybe you want to talk about your Bears more than you want to talk about your Bulls right now.
No, it's better, but they're all bad.
White Sox then. We'll get the White Sox
you
future.
Son of a...
Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon today. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on Locked On NBA, being part of the show, listening every day, being an everydayer. We have a daily Locked On show that covers your team. Check the link in the description to find a show that covers your team every day. I host Locked On Mavericks. Pat hosts Locked On Bulls with Hayes. And, we have all of them. Locked On Bucks with Camille and Justin. They'll have this Giannis game covered for you. I'm sure they do incredible work over there. Like I said, Locked On Warriors with Cyrus Satzes. All the Locked On shows. Check them out. Click the link in the description. All right, Pat. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 64 points in the win, 140-126 against the Indiana Pacers. They get their revenge from the in-season tournament. In this game, Giannis had 58, and Adrian Griffin took him out with 3 minutes and 30 seconds left. I thought he was done because they were up 131-112, and then the Pacers made it a 10-point game, and they ended up coming back. We'll start with. Would you have just kept him out, or would you have put him back in? Because Griff decided to put him back in, and he had 58. He already had the Bucks record because the Bucks record before was Michael Redd with 57. Right. Would you have put him back in? Because Griffin ended up doing it.
The only bail you can shoot Adrian Griffin on this is that it did feel like the tide had changed and the Pacers had a little bit of a run in them, and they're a team that can score quickly. So you don't want to chance
the Bucks
that.
Know this.
Yeah, and the Bucks know this very well. So I don't think that I don't put Giannis back in. I don't know but it did feel like kind of in that last minute and a half, like it was like, all right, we're running the score up. Let's see how high Giannis can get this thing.
Oh, as soon as they put the guys back in, but they put all the starters back in. They put Dame back in. It wasn't like they just put Giannis back in.
Right? Yes, 100%.
I 100% would put him back in.
Yeah.
These records. When is Giannis gonna be able to break this again? Right? Like, he's been a multiple-time MVP.
Later this week, possibly. You never know.
He could be, but you don't know, right? We thought Kobe would, and then all of a sudden Kobe's career goes on a decline, and you're like, oh, dang, we wish. And then he scores 60 in his final game, and you're like, oh, maybe he could have.
He was fine.
The thing, though, that was the most interesting part of this game, at the end, they're trying to get Giannis for the post-game interview, and Giannis is like freaking out. You can just tell he's looking around. He's like, people are like holding him back, and you're like, what is happening? He literally goes down the tunnel, sprints down the tunnel. He had just finished the game. They won the game. He's supposed to do the post-game interview on TV, and he just starts sprinting down the tunnel. And apparently he goes down the tunnel because the Pacers took the game ball and went back into their tunnel where there was a fracas. which is what Rick Carlisle called it, the coach of the Pacers. He called it a fracas because there was Bucks players in the hallway where the Pacers players were, and there apparently the Pacers GM, whose name is Chad Buchanan. If you knew that, I'm impressed. He got elbowed in the ribs, and Rick Carlisle said he probably has bruised ribs after that, and so something happened. There was some physicality back there for sure. And then I think he got the game ball. I think he got the game ball back.
I don't know.
The explanation for it all was that it was Oscar Tshiebwe. It was his first points in the NBA that he scored. So it was his first career basket. And so they wanted the ball to give to Oscar Tshiebwe. They do this for all their rookies. Lots of teams do. Luka made sure that Omax got his like first points ball when he scored in the Mavs game earlier this year. Like, it's just a thing that people do across the league. From the Pacers' point of view, do you buy it? Or is there some shadiness? Are the Pacers getting nasty with it when they took the game ball away from Giannis? Because how could you forget? He just scored 64 points.
I think there's a double-edged sword on that one. Yeah, I mean, I have a reason to take the ball, so I'm going to take the ball. Pause. That's crazy. I think there's a reason to take the ball.
That doesn't make any sense.
So I'm going to take the ball, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's a reason for me. I got to give it to the rookie who just scored his first ever points. But also, F you, Giannis. How dare you put up 64 on us?
And it wasn't just
70+% shooting.
Yeah, we'll get into how impressive it was. It wasn't just that he scored 64. It was that he did it that impressively. And also at the end, he had a dunk to get to, like, what was it, 62?
Yeah.
That, like, he threw down, was like real, like, flexing, screaming, like looking at the crowd. It was, it was all the showboating, and they were already up. It was like the game was decided at that point. So it wasn't like the Pacers were still catching up at that point. They were running the score up, and they were really trying to get the ball to Giannis.
Yeah, they were running it up.
For a team that made it to
that's why I'm taking it. That's why, I'm going to do it. We giving it to the rookie.
For a team that made it to the in-season tournament final, they seem worried about running the score up. They literally just went through that whole process where running the score up was necessary, and they seem mad by it.
Well, and I think that's actually the first thing I thought about in this whole thing, right? Like, there's going to be a lot of retaliation on teams that I think did that if somebody gets the opportunity to, and it's going to be like, well, you did it to us in that situation. Yeah, but we were doing it for the tournament. Now it's not the tournament. I think that is going to be something that the NBA is immediately going to look at and just be like, we got to find a different way to kind of bracket these guys, because this is going to have long-term repercussions.
You had Tatum come out and be like, I hated it. We had to do it, and I hated it. And
yeah.
Like, okay. Well.
Oh, yeah. I watched it. Trust me. I know they had to do it. It was against my Chicago Bulls. They definitely had to do it. No, I will say this. The most terrifying thing in sports right now, Giannis running after you. Because, like, full sprint Giannis is
it's not playing a game in the country of Serbia.
Depends on whose side you're calling that game for. You know what I mean?
Jokic got ejected the other day.
How much money's on the head?
We were playing this game in Serbia. We'd have some money on here. Good Lord. Yeah, Giannis is a big dude. If you've ever stood next to a 7-footer, I'm 6'3". Like, I am not a short person, and I feel so small. I feel like like a insignificant human next to some of these guys. So to see one of them like rush at you would be, oh my gosh.
And the funniest part about all of it is, right, like, there's people trying to stop him. It doesn't look like it, but when you watch the video, there are people like, Giannis, no, up there it goes. he's a monster of a human being running full speed at you. And the only thing that you can hope is that you have another human being that could be like Mothra versus Godzilla out here to slow him down and just be in the way and not elbow the owner in the ribs. I don't know who did it, but it feels like Giannis might have gave him the bump on the way past.
And you can't even take a charge either.
Listen, there's guys in the NBA that won't take charges on Giannis.
There's a report from Scott Grodsky from CBS in Milwaukee. Giannis says he doesn't know if he has the game ball from tonight. He has a ball, but the one that he has, he will give to his mom. He says, feels new. Do you think he has the real ball?
Probably not. Because again, if I'm the Pacers, screw you. But like,
Yeah, do you think Oscar Tshiebwe has it, or do you think Tyrese Halliburton is like sitting there spinning it on his finger on the team bus?
Here's the thing. I can't wait until it's like, what are we thinking? 20 years down the line, when John is going to be 20 years, probably safe. And Oscar just pulls the ball out, and now we're doing a 30 for 30 on this ball.
He's on like Bryce. He's on like Bryce James's podcast or something.
Because he's being honest. He's like, yeah, this is the ball Giannis had. And there's going to be like this kumbaya moment where he's like, here's the real ball, Giannis. Thank you for letting me.
Oh, you think they'll do like a photo op where they'll like give it back to him?
Doesn't sound like Oscar's going to be in the league very long, bro.
Hey, whoa. Pulling down rebounds over there. I mean, just a rebound machine. The next Dennis Rodman he is down there.
Yeah, all right.
Oscar Tshiebwe got the ball. So funny to me.
That's got to be the wildest thing. That was an insane thing.
It's okay. It's a very insane
finish
thing.
The night with,
but it's not even maybe the most insane thing about what Giannis did, because Giannis took 31 free throws in this game. Yeah. There have only been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, now 7 players in NBA history that have ever taken 31 free throws at all in a game. Can you guess them?
31 free throws in a game.
Taken attempts, not made attempts.
I'm going to say Shaq.
Shaq did it once.
Okay. I'm going to say Jordan.
Michael? No. There is a Jordan on this list, though.
Oh.
Think Haka. This is how you get there.
DeAndre
Jordan did it once. He scored 18 points. He took 34 free throws and scored 18 points.
Did he take any actual shots? That's got to be how he got all of them.
There's another one. He's on your team right now.
Vooch? Oh, Drummond.
Also Hack, yeah.
Drummond.
He scored 17. He took 36 free throws.
Yeah, it's all the Hacka guys. Like, yeah, you know what I mean?
There's another Hacka that's obvious.
Another Hacka that's obvious.
Play at home. Let me know. Who else took 31 free throws in a game? A Hacka that's obvious. Got hacked a bunch. Wanted to be Superman.
Oh, Dwight Howard.
I've
kind of put that name out of my mind after everything this year.
Adrian Dantley did it in 1983. He took 31 free throws in a game for the Utah Jazz. And then the obvious one. I mean, just...
They're all obvious because you're looking at the list.
Well, no. Think about any stat that's ever like the most.
Oh, Wilt.
Yeah. He was in high school, he was voted most.
Yeah.
So that's insane to take 31 free throws. The other thing is he got 60 points without hitting a 3 at all in this game. I think he was 0 for 3?
0 for 3.
In this game, can you name, there's now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players, including Giannis, that have ever done that. His is the most, by the way. 61 was the most before that, to do it without threes. And this is all after the 3-point era, by the way.
I feel like these are all the same guys. Shaq?
No. Shaq did it once. Yeah, he had 61 in 2000.
Dwight?
No, they've got to score 61. This is actually 61. Or like at least 60.
Oh, like stopping right at 61?
Not necessarily.
Oh, Wilt?
He's not on this list.
That's weird.
Because it was before the 3-point era. So he doesn't count, right?
Era.
You can't count those.
Michael
Jordan did it twice.
Of course.
Karl Malone did it once. Tom Chambers did it once in 1990. And then Bernard King did it in 1984. So
Bernard King, great name. I love a good Bernard King.
And
because Bernard King was one of those weird players that like you didn't think about as a superstar at all, but he just walk in and be like, hey, you know, I'm going to give you 60 tonight, right? Okay, I just want to let you know.
And then on Christmas Day, 1984, he did that. And he
burst the Knicks, right? Is that burst the Knicks?
I don't know. My screenshot got cut off after the date.
Oh, you bastard. I believe that's versus the Knicks, if I'm not mistaken.
I could go back to Basketball Reference. It'll take
That's okay.
Coming up, let's talk about the Suns making their debut, the Big Three. We saw them for the first time, but how did they look? We'll talk about that and then do Count It Up. And more coming up. Today's episode brought to you by Dave. Dave.com has you covered. They can go and they can get you extra cash. We all need extra cash. You need it when like you are stuck and need to pay a bill and you're like, all right, well, I get paid here, but I need this now. There are different due dates. I went through my budget recently and was like, why are all my bills getting paid at very different times in the month? Can't we all get together and just decide when they are? Some of them you can, some of you can't. But with Dave, it's the banking app that helps level the playing field financially for you. When you download Dave, you can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. No credit check, no late fees. It's part of Dave's extra cash account. Advance the money you need with no interest, and then just settle it up later. Download Dave today at dave.com/LockedOnNBA. That's dave.com/LockedOnNBA. You can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. No credit check, no late fee. Download the Dave app. Go to dave.com/LockedOnNBA for terms and conditions. Again, dave.com. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Eligibility criteria and instant transfer fee apply. Banking services provided by Evolve. Member FDIC. Check out dave.com/LockedOnNBA. All right, Pat, let's talk about this Suns team. They made their debut. Their faces were a lot bigger on that.
I was wondering what was going on there. I feel really zoomed in.
They made their debut. Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal played together for the first time. They lose to the Brooklyn Nets, and probably a familiar feeling for at least Booker with Spencer Dinwiddie hitting some dagger threes at the end of this game. But let's talk about the Suns' big three, though. What did you see from them, and what are your thoughts on the debut of the Suns' big three?
I think offensively they're going to be really good. I mean, like that's kind of what we knew, right? Like it didn't feel different. I think Beal kind of working himself back in, trying to figure out how he fits in with that whole dynamic of Booker and KD. You're right, only 9 shots, very surprising there, but
one in the fourth quarter.
But efficient on those 9 shots, shall we say. He was 6 for 9 on the day. So I think that does play into it. Nice. I think that does play into it. The thing for me as I watched down the stretch versus this Nets team was, hey, these guys need a timely stop. When are they going to get it? And it never came. I watched as you watch the fourth quarter, you were just waiting for them to kind of get that. Okay, that's the stop off of the miss. That's going to allow you to get back in this game and start to use your offense to pull away. That stop just never came, and I think that's been the concern that most of us had on this Phoenix Suns team. We know that they can outscore anybody because you have 3 of the best scorers in the NBA on your team, but can you go out there and get a timely stop when people are able to score back with you? Tonight was a night where when you looked at what the Brooklyn Nets did, I mean, they basically played what you got to call some of the best team ball that we've continued to see out of them. This is not a brand new thing for the Nets, but Cam Thomas getting very involved offensively in this game. I like the fact that you have 5 starters in double digits on the day and everybody getting involved offensively. That's going to keep you in a game with the Phoenix Suns, and the team that was able to go out there and get a couple of stops was able to get a win. Defense is still important, guys. Yes, you could outscore the rest of the world, but you got to be able to get a stop when you need one most.
You could hear it in the Suns announcers' voices. It's just too easy. I felt like they just kept saying that over and over again. Dinwiddie scored. Mikal Bridges scored. It's just too easy for them to get a bucket. And this Suns team had this problem even in the Chris Paul era, and now is having it in the the Beal era or whatever, whatever you want to call it. It's obviously Booker's era, but they don't take enough threes. Like the math problem just doesn't work out for them. They take too many jumpers, which has too much of a variability. This Suns team, they've taken 40 threes in a game twice this season. Yeah. Twice. It's just not enough. For reference, the Nets have now taken them at that 8 times in a game. They take a ton of threes. The Mavericks lead the league. You want to guess how many times the Mavs have taken 40 threes in a game?
How many games do we have in the season played right now?
What are they? They're 15-8. So what is that, like 23?
23 games, 22.
17. Close.
Yeah, okay. Close. Yeah.
They've taken 43s 17 times. The Suns have only done it twice this season. They were both early in the season, like October, early November. So this team, the math problem for them just doesn't work out in some of these games when you get the Brooklyn Nets side of it where they take 41 threes and hit 15 of them. And then all of a sudden, you're outscored on the 3-point line 15-9.
I think the weird part about it is
you're outscored by 18 points just on the 3-point line. Like, that's tough.
I think the weird part about it is, though, right, it's not that they can't shoot the 3, and that's where, to me, the defense has to come in, because if you get yourself in a situation where, okay, we're close enough, and this was a close game. It's not like it got massively out of hand, but it just felt like they could never cut the lead down enough to use the 3 ball to take the advantage. When you get to the point where you just go, all right, Kevin Durant, we need you to shoot threes. We know he can do it. Now, he didn't shoot the 3 ball particularly well tonight. But guess what? Bradley Beal can shoot the 3 ball. Devin Booker can shoot the 3 ball. I think the defense is going to be one of those things that they got to find a way to play it, because the mindset for them isn't to take the 3 throughout the game. But if I get you in a 2-minute set and it's a very close game, they do have guys on their team that can use the 3 ball to pull away.
They definitely got more than one problem.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Like they got more than one. Their depth is definitely an issue too. We knew this going in. When you make that kind of a trade and, like you bring in Bradley Beal, or you're bringing Kevin Durant first, then you bring in Bradley Beal, and then you just keep hemorrhaging depth, which this team used to be a deep team. 2 of their depth pieces in Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson made their return to Phoenix, which was cool to see. But they have Nas Little, who came in, and I saw something so interesting with Nas Little. He's wearing a mask. He was uncomfortable with it. You could tell. The announcers kept talking about that too. Devin Booker, like Nas Little did something where he got the ball. Like he got an extra possession. I don't know if it was a steal or something. He got the ball. And Devin Booker gave the ball to him, like, hey, I'm rewarding you because you got us an extra possession. Here, you get to touch the ball, basically, like a thing. Like you could tell he was clapped for him, and then he gave him the ball. And then he just immediately turned it over. And it just felt like Devin Booker is trying his damnedest to spread the ball out, create open threes. He had 12 assists in this game.
Yeah.
And for everybody that was concerned about them having a point guard, I wasn't, because Devin Booker was going to step into that role. He was doing everything he could to try and create these shots, but he's just passing to Chimezie Metu, who was 2 of 3, but he's passing to Nas Little, Yuta Watanabe, Jordan Goodwin, Keita Bates-Diop. It's still a couple of these guys have to emerge. We've seen it from Metu and Jordan Goodwin a little bit here and there, but they're going to need a couple of these guys, and the odds are not in their favor at this point for some of those guys. Long season still.
We've been talking about this the entire time with the Suns team. What's the bench depth going to look like, right? Remember at the beginning of the season when we thought Yuta Watanabe was the answer for that bench depth? He doesn't even get used anymore. They don't even like him anymore.
Listen, DNP coach's decision. Bol. What does he do that Wemby does? What does he do that Wemby does?
Right. Okay. Relax there, Shaq. Yeah, what does he do that Wemby does? He doesn't put up 30.
What does he do that Wemby doesn't?
Yeah, he doesn't put up 30. That's what he doesn't do. Been in the league, 6 years at this point? Can't find a team to play him more than 3 minutes in a game.
Yeah, brutal. So they've got some stuff to figure out, but the debut of the Big Three came with a big flop at the end there. So that's what we thought about the Suns. That's what we thought about Giannis. That's what we thought about Draymond Green. We can't talk about the Pistons today. I wanted to talk about the Pistons, but count it up. We won't. There you go, guys. Let us know in the comment section what you thought about Giannis, if you would have taken the game ball or if you would have given it back to him, and all that. Go check out the Locked On Sports Today live stream. If you're watching us on this, go check out one of our podcasts. Guys, thanks for listening to Locked On NBA.
Bye-bye.
Boom.